So I decided to go a bit of an end busting before my next farm because I wanted to do something different with storage. And this is like the biggest end city I've ever seen. This is just it keeps going. You got a ship as well. Like we got three of the big towers, and they keep going up and up. It's kind of insane. I mean, I'll take it. It's very nice for the amount of shulkers we're gonna get in this one little fortress right here. So yeah, I might do a time lapse. Quite possibly. But we'll try it out and see how it looks. Alright, so this episode we're going to get started working on our automated sugarcane farm, since that's the other material we need for crafting rockets is the paper, which you get from crafting sugarcane. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to use our regular farm we have here for our sugarcane. And what we're going to do is we're just going to put a flying machine that goes off every day cycle. So once it goes from day to night back to day, once at the morning strikes, we can send the flying machine off. And then like a little bit later, we'll send the minecarts off like that. So that will be that. And we just have to dig out this little area below to get the minecarts underneath that will be collecting all of the drops. And if you're wondering how I'm able to do this without the water leaking on the bottom, we just have a waterlogged slab there, which is right, the stone brick right here, which isn't leaking any of the water, so that we can just put the minecart underneath and not have to worry about the water leaking everywhere, which is definitely something that is nice thing that they added, was the waterlog. Stuff like that makes these farms so much easier. Instead of having to work out like using observers and all those sorts of things, you can just use the flying machine with the minecart collection system, and then you're all set, just like any other farm nowadays. Is just flying machine, the minecart underneath, just kind of like our bamboo farm that we have for our super smelter. But yeah, I get to work digging out all this area. I probably should move the beacon, but I think it's fine. We'll be fine. It's not too big of an area, so on to this. Alright, so we have the area completely dug out, and we have power rails going across the whole bottom way. And what we need to do now is just do the item unloaders, which shouldn't be too difficult. I mean, we should be able to do it really simple. But that's what we're going to work on next. Okay, so I did a little bit more work. So I took out of the comparators because we don't really need them, so they're going to be on the clock anyway. So the comparators aren't needed. We still need to activate the gates to hold them all the minecarts here like I have now. And I replaced all the blocks. The minecarts or the rails are on with hoppers, so all the drops feed over to this side. We're already getting a bunch. So what we need to do now is do a storage area somewhere. And yeah, so the clock I went with was the same thing I used for the super smelter bamboo spot. So we have a clock underneath there that lets the items grow for a little bit, but then it also only sends that at the different time. So what happens is this one over here only has 4 items in it, but then this one over here has about 4.5 stacks. So what it does is that it takes, it's like 2 of the etho hopper clocks combined into one, but you can have different lengths in each one, so that the minecarts only get sent off once, and then they get the pistons get unpowered like this, and so they get sent, and then the pistons unpower again, so that they only go off once, and they don't keep going back and forth, back and forth. But at the same time, this clock starts going, and this is basically 4.5 or 3.5 stacks, so it's a lot longer than the only items in here. So that's just to make sure that the carts only go once, and there isn't a problem with them going back and forth, and you can have 2 different clocks at the same time. So it's just useful because something like this, you need to give the crops time to grow, but you don't want to keep sending the minecarts too early, or like the pushers too early, or else you could get problems. And looks like we're getting pretty much all of the drops, which is good, because this also is controlled by a daylight sensor, I think. Yep. So when it's nighttime, this won't go at all. It'll just let it grow. And I also have a lever here to make sure I can constantly power this torch. So that is that. Alright, so I decided I need a tree farm, and I do not want to use that little one we have over there, since it uses so much bone meal for little logs in return. So what we're going to do is go build a really efficient bone meal one, so we get a 2x2 spruce trees at a time, and we barely use any bone meal and get a lot more wood in return. So we're going to build this instead, and yes, it requires a lot of things, but I need the logs, and I don't like chopping down trees anymore, or using that little one right there. So we're going to build this, and I already got all the materials, so I went over and spent like an hour and a half or something getting all these materials that we needed, and then we're going to build this up and see what it looks like, since just a sugarcane farm in one episode is not enough for me. So we're going to keep grinding away at this, and we'll see how it works in the end. So this is a schematic or a light manica of what I have in my other world, my Big Dumb Farms world. So obviously all of this is not needed, this is just bone meal input that I have for my main storage over there. Like it would be like a bunch of them, because I have 2 different tree farms, almost a third and maybe a fourth that I would have had in my other world. So I have bone meal from the main area right here. I would throw the bone meal into each one, and the water streams would take it all the way to here. So this part is not needed. And yeah, so we're gonna get building with this, obviously by Ilmango. Links in the description to him for this awesome farm. He does have a tutorial on his channel if you wanted to build this yourself, but I'm off to build this now, so I'm gonna head at it. Maybe a time lapse, I'm not sure, we'll see what happens. Alright, backup has been made. So this should work. Let's give it a try. Yep, it works. Looked like it worked perfectly fine. Nothing went wrong. Everything is still in place. And it looks like it was perfectly fine. So what happens here is we flick that switch. We would aim, the sign says 0, 5, so you're looking at the left side of the screen where this Z is, where it says facing south towards positive Z. When you look at that and get a 0 and 5. It's not detected based on Latrigo, it's based off time. So every time this will get pushed up, every time the flying machine returns, these logs get pushed up by the sticky pistons, which means the bottom logs get pushed one above this dispenser, allowing them to get out, so we don't have any logs that are stuck here. And then this flying machine in the center pushes all the logs out into the middle, where they get bombarded by TNT, and then they hit this obsidian, the slime blocks, and honey blocks, hit the obsidian, and then it launches the flying machine back the other way, back into its return station, just like that. So yeah, it's a bit complicated, but the amount of wood it's going to produce is very good, so that is why I'm doing it. So yep, on to the TNT duping modules and everything else. Okay, so the tubers are relatively in place, all the redstone is all in. And the little skull is to align the TNT in the middle of 2 blocks. Since our skull or mob heads are half a block wide, it'll align the TNT in the middle of 2 blocks, which is what we need. And if you ever wanted to know how to build the TNT dupers and not have them like separate or whatever, what you need to do is you need to have the TNT 1 block ahead, or yeah, ahead of the minecart. Because if you put it right next to it, it'll just pop off as an entity and go down. You want it to stay as a block, but you want it to attach at the same time. So let's see, if we were to power this, I think we are fine and shouldn't have anything blow up. If we power that like that, you can see that the TNT is now next to the minecart, which it shouldn't be, but it is because of that coral fan. We bring it back. It is now in place and primed and ready to go. So it's just you need to attach the system. You can't just build it like this. See, if you look at the schematic right here, you can't build it like that because if you place the TNT with the minecart on the detector rail, it'll just pop off. Like, it won't stay. So you need to push it forward and then combine it at the same time. And yeah, that's how you usually build a TNT duper, in case you needed to know. Alright, I do believe we are all set. All the dupers are in, all the redstone is in, everything is in, all the roof and ceiling, all the roof is in, all the flying machine stuff is in. Now, all we need to do is get some spruce saplings. So, to actually get this thing working, we're gonna need to go chop down some spruce trees, which is just counterintuitive to why we built this thing, because we don't have to chop down any more trees. But we need to go get more trees and get a storage going soon, so. Alright, so I went up and built the shulker box loader that I had from my other world and just built it into this world. Pretty simple, looking at the picture, copied as it is. So yeah, it's not mine, it's mine, definitely by ilmango, so definitely think for this. Pretty much everything is ilmango's in here. So all we need to do is fill the dispensers up with shulker boxes, and there is 16 of these total. And then we also need to put the item filters up top, so we're going to have probably, there's 16 total, so probably 12 for logs, 4 for sticks, so we can keep up with everything. And even that, I don't think that would keep up, so we'll see it and how it works. So let's go get the rest of the shulker boxes. I don't even think I could fill this thing completely right now, and we'll see how much wood we get, and then we'll probably call it an episode there. Alright, so just like a 5-minute or so test, maybe 5-10 minute test, and it looks like 4 of them is keeping up, and I thought a lot would mean a lot more, but 5 of them actually is keeping up with the amount we're getting. So that was like a 10-minute test, and we got like basically 2 shulkers filled with it all separated in between a bunch of items. But yeah, we got a bit of sticks. This is not what I'm mainly worried about. Just gotta get rid of that item in there. I don't know how I'm gonna do that, but yeah, it's gonna be working. So bone meal is the only problem here that I'm gonna have, but everything else should be fine. So yeah, that's a success, I'd like to call it, and this thing is amazing. This puts that little thing over there to shame with the amount this produces, so I'm really happy with this. Of course, links to ilmango will be in the description down below. Of course, this man is amazing. So yeah, that's gonna do it for this episode. Like, subscribe, all those sort of things, and I'll see you in the next one.